The superstitious behavior of male players not shaving their beards during the playoff is known as a playoff beard. Playoff beards were popularized by ice hockey players competing in the Stanley Cup playoffs and have since become a tradition in numerous sports leagues. Many supporters of professional sports teams grow playoff beards. When his team enters the playoffs, the player stops shaving and does not shave again until his team is eliminated or wins the Stanley Cup or similar championship. The tradition began in the 1980s, and the first team to wear them was the Detroit Red Wings in 1984-85. Wings forwards Ivan Boldarev and Danny Gersh started the practice in January 1985, hoping to motivate the squad to win 4 consecutive games. The New York Islanders opted to do the same sometime in the 1980s, and it was likely initiated by Butch Goring, according to Islander Mike Bossy. Almost all North American hockey leagues, including high school leagues and NCAA hockey teams as well as minor league affiliates, follow the tradition. Some observers believe that following a loss, a player's beard should be trimmed in an attempt to reverse the team's fortunes. Jim Dowd and Roberto Luongo are examples of players who did this. Dennis Potvin, a Hall of Famer, recalls the Islanders of the 1980s playing 4 games in 5 nights in the first round, and it was just something that kind of happened. The 1980 Islanders included 2 Swedish players, Stefan Persson and Anders Kalle. Therefore, it's probable that tennis champion Bjorn Borg's practice of not shaving his beard during Wimbledon, which he'd been doing for several years by that time, had an influence on the technique's inception in hockey. According to some players, the beard serves as a reminder of team solidarity as well as a technique to keep a player thinking about the playoffs from the time he looks in the mirror in the morning. The 2009 Red Wings utilized the tagline, "The beard is back," throughout the final series of their Stanley Cup playoff run. They faced the Pittsburgh Penguins in the Stanley Cup final that year, which Pittsburgh won, and most of the players on both teams, including Penguins owner Mario Lemieux, grew beards. The Beardathon initiative was established in 2009 to urge fans to grow their own playoff beards for charity. Over the course of its first 4 years, the Beardathon drew over 22,000 NHL fans and raised over $200,000 for charity. In June 2015, Mike Lazarus, chairman of NBC Sports, the league's U.S. rights holder, told the Chicago Tribune that he'd been urging the NHL to discourage the practice, claiming that it hampered viewers' ability to recognize players. If you're having fun so far, please subscribe and let's get to NHL players with the most famous beards. Most notable NHL playoff beards. Lanny McDonald. Lanny McDonald and his renowned moustache enjoyed a long NHL career. He played for 3 teams in 18 seasons, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Colorado Rockies and the Calgary Flames. Although he was famed for his moustache, when the Calgary Flames advanced to the NHL playoffs in 1989, he opted to match it with a playoff beard. It also happened to be his last season in the NHL. McDonald certainly went out in style as he won the Stanley Cup Finals in his final game while sporting his spectacular facial hair. He remained with the Flames as VP after retirement. He was eventually inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame for his NHL accomplishments. In addition to his accomplishment, many die-hard hockey fans remember McDonald as the player with the finest facial hair of all time. Brent Burns. Brent Burns is a talented hockey player who has played both defense and offense. His bushy beard and hair are well known in the NHL. In 2013, Burns leveraged his fame to raise almost $23,000 for charity. In exchange for shaving his head and beard, he requested followers to donate to Defending the Blue Line and the Katie Moore Foundation. His hair and beard grew back, and he was able to lead the Sharks to their first Stanley Cup final since 1991 with a full playoff beard in 2016. Unfortunately, the Sharks failed to win the Stanley Cup, but Burns and his playoff beard may be seen again in future seasons. Mike Commodore. Mike Commodore moved around between several organizations and 11 NHL teams before retiring in 2014. Although he played for several teams, his most successful season was with the Carolina Hurricanes in 2005-2006. The Carolina Hurricanes advanced to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Edmonton Oilers that year, and Commodore's red beard was thickening by this stage. His beard must have been a lucky charm because the Hurricanes won their first Stanley Cup in the 7th game. Paul Mara. Throughout his hockey career, Paul Mara's spectacular playoff beard has graced many TVs. In his 12 seasons with the NHL, he played for 6 different clubs and made the playoffs 5 times. Mara spent 3 years with the Tampa Bay Lightning before being traded to the Phoenix Coyotes. In 2002, he made his first postseason appearance with the Coyotes and eventually played with the New York Rangers for 3 seasons in a row, making the playoffs each time. These dates range from 2007 to 2009. Mara's last playoff appearance was with the Montreal Canadiens in 2011. Mara never won the Stanley Cup despite entering the playoffs 5 times before retiring from hockey in 2013. Despite never winning a Stanley Cup, he is remembered for his famous playoff beards. Scott Hartnell. Hartnell is another player whose hairdo was well known in the NHL and would look great with a playoff beard. Fortunately, Hartnell got to show off his playoff beard rather regularly. During his 17 seasons in the NHL, the hairy forward appeared in 99 postseason games. Despite coming close with the Flyers in 2010, he was never able to win a Stanley Cup final. After the loss, he had a fantastic personal 2010-2011 season and was invited to play in the All-Star Game. Hartnell has an unusual skating style that makes him more susceptible to tumbling. As he gained exposure, followers began using the hashtag #HartnellDown when he fell. Hartnell embraced the hashtag and established the #HartnellDown Foundation, which raises funds for hockey charities that use the game to help children. During the All-Star Game, he even donated $1,000 for every #HartnellDown Twitter mention. Beards in other sports playoffs. Major League Baseball, the Canadian Football League, the National Football League, and to a lesser extent the National Basketball Association have all adopted the playoff beard. In general, the practice is similar to that of ice hockey in that players do not shave until they either win a title or are eliminated. Baseball. Several Boston Red Sox players grew beards during the team's 2013 season. The beard-growing movement began in spring training with Mike Napoli and Johnny Gomes, and as the Red Sox kept winning, despite all predictions to the contrary, most of the team got on board with the beards. Only pitcher Koji Uehara had no facial hair at the start of the World Series against the St. Louis Cardinals. He did, however, have a beard in the past. Fans from all over the world wished the team well in winning the 2013 World Series. On October 23, 2013, Business Insider published photos of Red Sox players wearing their lucky charms. During the season and postseason, the club had another superstition. When a player scored an extremely significant run towards the end of the game, a tug would be given to this player's beard. Soccer. Sheffield United's veteran striker Alan Cork did not shave during the club's 4-month FA Cup run, which ended in the semi-finals. Major League Soccer or MLS players on the Houston Dynamo team sported a lucky beard during the 2006 and 2007 MLS Cup playoffs. During their journey to the 2011 MLS Cup, they revived the tradition. The Los Angeles Galaxy sprouted playoff beards during their 2005 MLS Cup run and again during the 2010 MLS Cup playoffs. Tennis. Bjorn Borg, the 5-time Wimbledon winner, used to let his beard grow before the tournament beginning in the late 1970s. Sports Illustrated released an article about Borg just before the 1981 Wimbledon tournament headlined, "The Beard Has Begun." If you want to see more stuff like that, click the link on the screen to watch the best hairstyles in NHL history.